Hello, and welcome back to our Days of Our Lives coverage. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most shocking and heart-wrenching storylines brewing in Salem. In a devastating turn of events, Susan Banks finds herself in a terrible accident after heroically saving young Thomas from an oncoming car. But the price she pays is severe. While Thomas miraculously escapes unscathed thanks to Susan's selfless intervention, Susan herself becomes the victim of the very vehicle she was trying to protect him from. This tragic moment marks a significant turning point in the lives of multiple Salem residents and sets off a chain reaction of dramatic consequences that will shake the DiMera and Kiriakis families to their core. The foundation of this catastrophic event is built on a series of interconnected incidents that begin with Susan Banks experiencing a powerful and unsettling premonition. Susan, portrayed by the talented Stacey Hyduke, has always possessed an intuitive nature that allows her to sense danger before it strikes. In the coming episodes, Susan will be gripped by an overwhelming feeling that something terrible is about to happen in Salem. This premonition will haunt her thoughts and actions as she goes about her day, creating an air of tension and foreboding. What makes this premonition particularly significant is that it appears to be centered around young Thomas DiMera, the innocent child caught in the middle of family drama and danger. Susan's instincts will prove to be tragically accurate, as her vision seemed to align perfectly with the impending tragedy that's about to unfold on the streets of Salem. The catalyst for the main accident involving Thomas stems from a shocking act of violence that occurs just moments before the fateful car incident. In a separate but connected sequence of events, Alex Kiriakis, played by Robert Scott Wilson, becomes an unexpected hero when he witnesses Kat Green, portrayed by the stunning Annalyn McCord, being attacked by someone wielding a knife. Without hesitation, Alex springs into action to protect Kat from her attacker, positioning himself directly between her and the weapon. However, in a cruel twist of fate, while Alex is successfully saving Kat from the knife attack, he becomes the unintended target of a pumpkin that was originally meant for Kat. The force of the pumpkin impact leaves Alex seriously injured, requiring immediate medical attention. This incident is particularly significant because it adds another layer of chaos and urgency to the day's events, setting the stage for even greater catastrophes to follow. The aftermath of Alex's heroic actions creates immediate concern and worrying for those closest to him. Stephanie Johnson, portrayed by Abigail Klein, becomes deeply anxious about her boyfriend's condition as she learns about the attack and his injury. Her concern is understandable, given the severity of the blow Alex received while protecting another woman. However, as time passes and medical evaluation continues, there comes welcome news: Alex will recover fully. When he eventually wakes up from his initial unconsciousness, he'll be alert and relatively stable, much to Stephanie's relief. This recovery, while good news on the surface, actually becomes the starting point for an entirely new mystery. Stephanie and Alex will piece together the details of the attack and begin to wonder who orchestrated this violent incident and why Kat was targeted in the first place. The investigation that Stephanie and Alex embark upon proves to be more significant than either of them initially anticipated. As they dig deeper into the circumstances surrounding the knife attack and the mysterious pumpkin incident, they begin to uncover information that pulls them directly into the center of a larger, more complex mystery unfolding in Salem. Their detective work will reveal connections they hadn't previously considered and potentially expose secrets that certain people would prefer to remain hidden. This discovery transforms what seemed like a random act of violence into something far more calculated and intentional. Stephanie and Alex find themselves asking difficult questions about motivations, connections, and who might have a vested interest in causing harm to the people they care about. The investigation becomes personal, as they realize the implications of what they're uncovering. The root cause of much of this chaos can be traced back to young Thomas DiMera and a decision he made that would have significant consequences. It's revealed that Thomas was pressured by his sister Rachel into throwing that pumpkin at Kat Green, an action that resulted in serious injury to Alex Kiriakis. When the truth of Rachel's involvement in pressuring her brother comes to light, Brady Black becomes furious with his daughter. He recognizes that Rachel's actions, whether intentional or as part of a cruel game, have resulted in real harm to another person. Brady's parental response will be swift and severe, as he understands the importance of teaching his children accountability for their actions and the consequences of harming others. This punishment marks a significant moment in Brady's parenting approach and sends a clear message about the values he wants to instill in Rachel. However, Brady is not the only parental figure ready to address Thomas's role in these troubling events. Chad DiMera, Thomas's father, also feels compelled to have a serious discussion with his young son about his behavior and the choices he's been making. When Chad learns about Thomas's involvement in the incident, he delivers what amounts to a lecture about responsibility, respect, and the importance of making better decisions. This conversation between father and son is particularly fraught with tension, as their relationship has been strained for quite some time. Chad's stern words and disappointment only serve to widen the gap between them, making Thomas feel increasingly isolated and misunderstood. The lecture, while well-intentioned from a parental standpoint, actually contributes to Thomas's emotional turmoil and growing sense of alienation from his family. The mounting pressure and emotional distress from multiple confrontations pushes Thomas into a dangerous emotional state. Unable to process the criticism and punishment from both his father and other authority figures, Thomas enters what can only be described as a rampagia period of emotional chaos during which he loses control of his impulses and judgment. In this highly agitated state, Thomas makes the fateful decision to run away from home. Bolting down the street in an attempt to escape the overwhelming pressure and negative emotions bearing down on him. He's not thinking clearly or rationally. Instead, he's acting purely on emotion and the desperate desire to get away from the situation. This impulsive flight into the street, however, places him directly in the path of danger that Susan's premonition had warned about. As Thomas runs frantically down the street in his emotional state, he fails to notice an approaching vehicle traveling at high speed. The driver of the car, unaware of the young boy suddenly appearing in their path, cannot stop in time. In a moment of quick thinking and maternal instinct, Susan Bankswoe has been nearby, possibly guided by her premonition sees Thomas in danger and immediately springs into action. Without any concern for her own safety, Susan throws herself between Thomas and the oncoming vehicle, effectively pushing him out of harm's way. However, this selfless act of heroism comes at a terrible cost. Susan is struck by the speeding car, absorbing the full impact of the collision that was intended to strike Thomas. The force of the impact throws her body through the air, and she crashes hard onto the pavement, suffering severe injuries in the process. The tragic collision scene is witnessed by two of Thomas's most important family members, his father Chad DiMera and his mother Jennifer Horton Devereaux, portrayed by the seasoned actress Melissa Reeves. Both Chad and Jennifer are forced to watch in horror as Susan is struck down while saving their son's life. Their shock and anguish at witnessing this terrible event is compounded by the realization that Thomas's behavior and their own responses contributed to the circumstances that led to this moment. The guilt, fear, and desperation that flood through them in that instant is almost unbearable. Thomas himself, now safe but traumatized by what he's just witnessed, is confronted with the enormous reality of what his actions have set in motion. The consequences of running away in anger have resulted in someone else paying the ultimate price. This accident represents a major turning point in the Days of Our Lives narrative, with far-reaching consequences for multiple characters and storylines. Susan's condition following the accident will likely become a central focus of upcoming episodes, as her family and the medical team at Salem Hospital fight to save her life. Meanwhile, Thomas will be forced to confront the weight of his responsibility in Susan's suffering, potentially experiencing a profound transformation in his understanding of consequences. Chad and Jennifer will be plagued by questions about whether they could have handled the situation differently. And Stephanie and Alex's investigation into the knife attack takes on new urgency as they realize there might be connections to the larger pattern of violence and danger affecting their community. The ripple effects of this single tragic moment will touch nearly everyone in Salem, creating new conflicts, alliances, and mysteries that will drive the soap opera forward into thrilling new territory. Part 2. Days of Our Lives, Love on the Brink, Secret Alliances, and a shocking return shake Salem next week. The coming week in Days of Our Lives promises to be one of emotional turmoil, broken hearts, and unexpected alliances, a mix of heartbreak and hope that longtime viewers have come to cherish. As Salem's residents grapple with fractured relationships, moral choices, and the reappearance of one of the town's most mysterious doctors, fans can expect both tender moments and tense confrontations that leave everyone questioning what's next. Tate and Holly reach a turning point. For the younger generation of Salem, Tate Black Leo Howard and Holly Jonas Ashley Puzemis are at a crossroads that could define their future. After weeks of emotional highs and lows, the two teens will finally reach a settlement, one that forces them to pause and reflect on everything they've been through. Holly's recent brush with trouble has left her facing probation, and she's determined to prove that she can take responsibility for her mistakes. Tate, ever the loyal and protective friend, has stood by Holly despite the chaos surrounding her. Yet as they move toward this temporary truce, both realize that sometimes love, especially young love, needs space to breathe. Their decision to take a break isn't about giving up, it's about growing up. For older viewers who remember the tumultuous teenage romances of Salem's past, this storyline echoes the timeless lesson that love, to last, must be built on patience and forgiveness. Xander and Sarah's marriage crumbles. Meanwhile, one of Salem's most passionate and complicated relationships appears to be reaching its end. Xander Kyriakis Paul Telfer and Sarah Horton Lindsay Godfrey have weathered countless storms, betrayal, mistrust, and heartbreak. Yet next week, all that pain comes to a head in a confrontation that lays bare the depth of their emotional wounds. Sarah has filed for divorce, and this time, she seems resolute. No more second chances, no more hoping Xander will change. Her heart may still ache for the man she once loved, but she knows that love alone cannot repair a foundation cracked by lies and deceit. For Xander, the realization that he may have lost Sarah for good is devastating. He's a man torn between pride and regret, struggling to accept that the family he once dreamed of with Sarah and their daughter Victoria might now be out of reach. Their scenes promise to be raw, emotional, and heart-wrenching. Longtime fans who have watched their relationship evolve will see echoes of classic Salem romances that burned bright but couldn't withstand the test of betrayal. It's a painful reminder that love, no matter how passionate, sometimes simply isn't enough. Gwen's new assignment and EJ's power play. Elsewhere, Gwen von Leuschner Emily O'Brien finds herself drawn once again into the orbit of EJ DiMera Dan Furigal, whose machinations continue to shape the fate of Salem's elite. EJ has always been a master strategist, charming on the surface, but ruthless beneath, and next week, he'll unveil a new plan that demands Gwen's cooperation. Despite her frustration and frequent grumbling, Gwen knows better than to defy a DiMera outright. When EJ hands down his new orders, Gwen will be torn between resistance and curiosity. What exactly is EJ up to this time? And why does he need her, specifically, to help execute his plan? The uneasy alliance between them may prove dangerous, as Gwen's loyalty and integrity are tested yet again. This storyline adds a layer of intrigue reminiscent of the DiMera schemes of old, where business power plays often mask deeply personal agendas. Gwen's involvement could either elevate her status in Salem or lead to her downfall. Dr. Rolf returns and new faces join the game. Adding to the suspense, EJ will be introducing a new member to his research team, Mark Green Jonah Robinson. A bright but mysterious figure whose skills make him the perfect fit for DiMera Enterprises. Yet Mark's arrival won't be the only surprise. Fans will be thrilled to learn that Dr. Wilhelm Rolf Richard Horton, Salem's resident mad scientist, is back in town. Whenever Dr. Rolf appears, trouble isn't far behind. His past experiments, from brainwashing to bringing the dead back to life, have left an indelible mark on Salem's history. Now, as he teams up with Mark Green, questions begin to swirl. What kind of research are they planning? Is this just another corporate project, or something far darker and more personal? EJ's decision to align himself with both Rolf and Mark hints at a larger, more ambitious agenda. Could he be plotting to reclaim ultimate control of DiMera Enterprises, or even manipulate the balance of power in Salem itself? Whatever the plan, it's clear that EJ's calm exterior hides a storm of calculated ambition. The calm before the next storm. As the week unfolds, each storyline in Days of Our Lives reflects a different kind of struggle, from youthful redemption to romantic heartbreak, and from power games to scientific intrigue. Tate and Holly are learning hard lessons about accountability. Sarah and Xander face the painful truth that some love stories don't have fairy tale endings. Gwen finds herself once again walking the fine line between survival and morality. And EJ DiMera? He's preparing the next move in a game that could change Salem forever. The days ahead promise deep emotions, shocking revelations, and the return of familiar chaos, the kind of week that longtime fans, especially those who've watched since the early decades, will appreciate for its blend of nostalgia and fresh drama. In Salem, peace never lasts for long. And as these stories unfold, one thing becomes clear. Every ending is just the beginning of another scandal, another heartbreak, and another secret waiting to explode.